So, Fish, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You've just played the first ever Skiddle Ball. How was it for you?
Yeah, really exciting. Really exciting. Crowd were just ready to go as soon as I went in there. The room was really busy, and it was just really fun. Really fun. It's a good opportunity when you're playing like this to try out some new things as well.
Had you planned much for the set before coming into this, or did you go in with that air of like spontaneity into it as well?
For this, I did. I've been working on quite a few productions, so it was probably a bit more prescriptive than usual because I've just got to the point where I finished mastering a load of new tracks. So I had a rough idea because there was at least like I don't know, some 6 or 7 tracks in there like that was definitely going to play. So yeah, bit of both. I didn't exactly have it mapped out, but I didn't like deviate too far from the from the tracks I had in mind.
I mean, the crowd were on you as soon as you entered the building.
Yeah,
it was incredible, the energy down there. I think like that smaller, intimate setting like really helped the party vibe as well.
Yeah, it's super fun playing these sorts of events. And don't get me wrong, it's fun playing on like massive festival stages as well. But when you're in a small venue, you have a more direct relationship with people. You can interact with people. You can have a little dance with them. You can make eye contact. You can have a little, not exactly a chat, but it's a bit more interactive than when you're playing on a huge stage. And obviously you can read exactly like what's working as well, because you can see everyone right in front of you and stuff. And it's nice to be immersed in amongst it rather than being separate. So yeah, it's good. It's really good vibe.
I feel like Manchester has a certain energy when it comes to events and parties. As someone who's played all over the world, how does it feel to you, like playing here in comparison to some other places?
Every city around the world, like you can kind of mark the crowd and how ready they are to go out of the box, right? But Manchester's one of those places where they're just, the first drop on the first track, if it's a banger, they're just ready to go, and it's a cool place to play. I love it, really cool city.
My scarce hitters got back blast.
So I want you to take me right back. What was your first introduction to club culture? Way back when you were a young fry.
So my first contact with it entirely was when I was probably about 12 or 13. I was watching an episode of Inspector Morse that touched on the rave scene, the illegal rave scene.
Hey.
And I remember watching that thinking, that looks pretty cool. And I got home and I was thinking, I was too young to be going out back then in the early 90s, but I wasn't too young to listen to pirate radio. That was all old school hardcore, like when just before like Jungle and Drum and Bass kicked off, so I was listening to a lot of that stuff. And I used to read the Rave magazine, so I found out about it even though I wasn't really going to the events then. And I started going out in the mid-90s, around like 95, and I used to go, it was mainly in London because at that point, I was young, I was like 15, 16, because in those days it wasn't so strict on ID going into clubs and stuff, you could just show them a beer mat and they'd let you in, you know what I mean? And I used to go to the Club UK, Ministry of Sound, Leisure Lounge, Fabric when that opened in 1999.
Is there a record that stuck with you like all this time? Maybe something that you adopted early, or that like oh my god moment when you first heard it and you were like, what is this sound?
There's some unreleased stuff that can always kind of get you out of a bit of a hole if the energy level's dipped in something. You can dig something out. Like I've got one by MPH 33 Below in Motion from a few years ago called Light It Up, right, which I don't think's ever been released. Don't think it ever will be released either because it's got a sample in it that I don't think it's been heard, and it's an absolute heater that's tracked on really short intro, and then when it kicks in it's just got like the heaviest bass. That's one that I'll sometimes come back to as a little surprise, but because only those guys have got it, and I'm not sure if I saw MPH relatively recently, and I don't think it's one that he still plays in his set like himself anyway, right? So it's kind of like a secret weapon that like hardly anyone's got, that you can drop and it will go off.
Was the intention there in the early days to be sharing all the tunes and stuff like that with the younger generations, or was that something that just happened?
So music is by far my biggest passion, right? When I started off on social media, I was literally just like, I was astonished at how much crap there was on TikTok that was still getting views, and I thought honestly, like I didn't feel that confident about myself, but I thought I'm sure I can make something that's like as good as, or I'm sure I could like build a bit of a following, right? And I started off, I had like a collection of watches. It was nothing special at all. They were all like, most of them were under £100, right? But they all had a slightly interesting story to them. And I started off thinking, right, I'll do it about watches because I've got 13 of those. So that's 13. I was thinking that's small. I did 13 pieces of content, right? And the only ambition I only had one metric that I was trying to hit. I wanted to have all of my videos, when you added them together, I wanted to get like 1 million views, right? Which seems easy now because I can get that in one video if I'm occasionally, right? Or 2 or 3 videos that perform well. But back then it was like my videos were getting like maybe 200 views each or something like that. So it was quite a long task to do that. But I stuck at it, and I got to the point where I finished all my watches. That didn't take very long, and the content was crap. And I've deliberately left it on TikTok because you can search it, you can put in Fish56Octagon watch, and you can see me. And I'm so like nervous, and I'm like I'm going, hello, I'm here today to talk about this, because it's like, you know, I think people always think, oh, you know, this guy's kind of, you know, just got the social media, he's just like a natural in it, but it's not. It's just thousands of hours of doing something. I was pretty terrible at it to start, you know. Some people would say this about me now, right, which is fine. I really wanted to do about music, right? That was the thing I wanted to do, but I honestly I was looking at TikTok, this young audience, I just thought they're not really interested in hearing some old guy in his 40s talking about some old record from the 90s. There's no way.
How wrong you was.
Yeah, well, that was a mistake, right? So I stuck at it, and I did little bits and bobs of music, and I noticed whenever I filmed myself at festival, like I made any content there, like the views on that would always be mega, like I'll go past the police sniffer dogs or whatever. People would be astonished that they were like, oh, this guy's actually going to Boomtown, like, or Greenfields, whatever. So it's literally not just like talking about it, it's actually actively still going out now. After a while, I just decided, even though I was earning some decent money from the car thing, I was like, I really want to focus on music. I can't do it both. People were asking me at that time, going, oh, do you want to come and play at my party? And I was absolutely terrified of, like, because I hadn't performed like DJing since I was at university, and then it just got to the point where it was like a tidal wave of people asking me. And then at one point I started doing Instagram, which I hadn't really taken seriously before. I was only on TikTok because it's just what I knew, and it hockey sticked up. I think it's that thing where I was wearing like this dressing gown that my mum had given me, right, which I only wore because my boss had said, he'd gone, look, you know, we know that you're having a bit of success on social media and we're cool with it, but make sure you're not seen to be posting during the day, because that's wrong. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I got up really early and I thought I'd do some posts in the morning, and I just put this dressing gown on. But my mum had given us a year earlier, which me and my wife didn't want because we thought it looked stupid. So we just left it on the back of the door for years. We were going to subtly get rid of it so my mum didn't notice this. But I just put it on mainly because it was cold. I'm just going to make my content wearing this dressing gown and see what happened. And the views on that were mega, because like a lot of people were asking for the idea of the dressing gown, and you know, and it got a bit of hate as well. But you don't ignore something like that. I was like, right, well, I'll stick with it then.
So I did want to talk to you about records, because you're obviously a massive record collector.
Yeah.
Do you still get out for a dig now?
So I have to say, right, I'm a bit like with my vinyl collection, I've kind of almost got now everything that I've ever set out to buy. I've got all of the old hardcore and jungle and drum and bass records that I had on tapes and I heard on pirate radio when I was younger. A lot of those I bought at the time, but there were quite a few gaps as well. I actually sold some of my collection very foolishly in 2005, and then I started rebuying them. And I've got to the point now where I've got most of the ones that I want, that I like from back in the day. I've still got a few on my list, but they're very expensive, so they're not ones to buy at the moment. There's the Sick Boy remix, Kevin and Perry track. It's one of the anthems. Wide Track Mystery Land. The Sick Boy Courtyard mix of that goes for about 150 quid. Wow. There's Ian Brown Fear, but the break remix of it by James Lavelle.
I don't know that sounds.
You know it instantly.
Really?
Yeah. And there's two Prodigy ones that are really rare, like with the white label releases of One Love. And there's a few like that are like, you know, kind of 150, 200 quid. They're on my want list, and I will buy them at some point.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it too long, otherwise, you know, you buy them and then you die, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And they might keep going up in value the older they get.
You know, they are. They used to be like 120 quid as well. It's a bit annoying.
Just treat yourself. So, before I let you go, what else have you got coming up then for this year?
I've got numerous festivals over the course of the summer, and there's a list of them on my pinned at the top of my Insta page. Things I've got lots of stuff coming up back in Manchester. Like, fingers crossed, looks like it's going to be happening for quite a big date later in the year. And I'm going back to Australia next year, and it looks like I'm going to be going to India and going to the States again a couple of times this year. So lots of international stuff, and playing in some of my favourite cities around the UK as well.
And maybe a few releases.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've got music coming. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Fish, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for speaking to me, mate.
It's a pleasure, mate. Absolute
Nice one.
pleasure. Lovely to meet you.